Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing The Last Breath Before Death by Alan Golbourn. I was sent a copy of, a free copy of this book by the author, of course for an honest review. When I looked at the cover, you can see that it looks a lot like a horror book, but this isn't, well in my mind, this isn't a horror book. It does have elements and sprinklings of horror, but in my mind, this is a supernatural thriller mystery novel with, as I said, sprinklings of horror throughout. So this is going to be a spoiler-free video, and this is going to be my own thoughts and feelings regarding this book. So this focuses around our main character called Jimmy, who is many things. He is a reporter, and he is an investigator of supernatural ghost-y stuff, you know. He is also a comic book artist, and he is very introverted. He suffers from these migraines that cause him a lot of discomfort. And at the time of this book, he is in New York City, and we find out a little bit about him as well. The book kind of has like a slow build to the book, and Alan said that he did this on purpose because he wanted us to get used to the character first, which is important. I mean, Jimmy is our main character, and if we don't care about our main character, then why should we care about what happens to them? Jimmy is a very safe character. He doesn't do anything crazy or anything like that. He does have a kind of a sexual relationship with a lady who is very, very sexually active. I don't really think it specifies, but it's implied that she has numerous sexual partners. But she does, I think, somewhat cares for Jimmy, and vice versa. Jimmy cares for this woman as well. It's not really a romance thing. It's more of a friends with benefits. I guess that's the best way I can put this relationship. But we find out that Jimmy has a brother called Quentin, and there's been kind of that wall that has been built up between these two brothers, which kind of started when Quentin wanted or invited his brother to his wedding, and at the last minute Jimmy cancelled because he had one of these painful migraines. They haven't spoken to each other in years, and they've kind of drifted apart like people do. And when Jimmy is kind of investigating this mysterious mansion that's supposedly haunted, he comes across a character called Walter, I believe that's what the character's name is, who is a medium and psychic, whatever the difference is. It was at this point in the story that I had to kind of detach my feelings from psychics and mediums, because in real life I have a very, very high dislike for these types of people. I find them to be the most deceitful, despicable, horrible people ever. And when it comes to people speaking to ghosts, I think that they're just basically a bunch of BS. But when I came across Walter in this book, I was like saying to myself, look, I have to kind of separate my feelings in the real world to my feelings in this fictional world. So I had to kind of separate the two, kind of think about this Walter character in a fictional way and his beliefs. So Jimmy comes across Walter at this supposedly haunted mansion, and they become friends. It is shortly after this that Walter kind of tells Jimmy that he believes that his brother has gone missing, as a while ago Quentin and one of his friends, Riley, went up to a hiking and camping trip up in Germany, and they went missing. No one knows what's happened to them. No one even knows what part of Germany they were in or where they were when they disappeared. All people know that they were in Germany or were in Germany, and they went missing. So after Jimmy discovers that his brother's gone missing, and he's supposedly in a lot of danger, and he needs Jimmy's help, and it's pretty much a life or death situation. Jimmy kind of investigates for himself. He kind of wants to uncover the mystery behind his brother's disappearance. Their mother is very distraught about this. Jimmy and Quentin's mother is a big part of this book, as she's very distressed, as you can possibly imagine. And she lives in England, so Jimmy says, look, I don't want you being over there, getting upset and worrying about this, that it could possibly blow over and it could be something innocent. So he goes over to England to kind of support his mother and be there for his mother, and also kind of investigate what's actually happened to his brother, and kind of get answers about what's been going on, and kind of trying to put the pieces together and try to solve what's basically the mystery of the missing brother. As the story progresses, we discover that there is somewhat of a vampire cult that are involved with this. They are very, very secretive. They keep in the shadows, but they are extremely dangerous as a society. And we are led to believe that Jimmy's brother Quentin and his friend Riley have come into contact with this cult and got too close and are in danger. Now, these vampires aren't the traditional vampires that we all know and somewhat love. Obviously, they drink blood, but they also eat the flesh of human beings. They are, in essence, a cannibal. They are extremely strong, they're extremely fast and agile. They have a very heightened sense of smell. So the way I was thinking about it is that they are kind of like a cross between a cannibal and a vampire. But when the story is progressing, we don't really know much about them. There isn't really much of, the threat of these individuals isn't really laid out in black and white. They just sometimes show up. They sometimes eat people, but for the majority of the time, they're kind of lurking in the shadows and kind of outside of where Jimmy is, I guess. We discover all sorts of things about this cult and their leaders and their rituals that Jimmy discovers along his way. And while in England, he discovers that there is, he uncovers the place where his brother and his friend disappeared. So when he's in England, he discovers the place in Germany where his brother and his friend disappeared and went missing. So he goes over to Germany in the exact place where they went missing, and he goes over there and he investigates this place. He befriends these two German police officers who are just as committed to finding Quentin and Riley as much as he is, but they're kind of at their wits' end. They don't know what else they could do. They are trying to solve the mystery as much as Jimmy is. There is this kind of ex-cult member that has kind of gone rogue and trying to somewhat help Jimmy uncover the mystery and trying to give him answers to this vampire cult. He doesn't really know where his brother is, but he's trying his best to help Jimmy as best as he can, as well as trying to cover his own ass because this cult is after him as well. I also forgot to mention that these vampires can also turn into animals. I don't know if they can turn into any animal that they want, but they can they can definitely turn into bats and sometimes pigs as well. So the book kind of concludes with Jimmy kind of slowly uncovering the mystery of what happens to his brother and his friend. It's kind of like, I don't know if you know this kind of party game. It's called Pass the Parcel, where you have um like this present, and it's wrapped up in, you know, numerous times in different paper, yeah, like in many layers, and each person kind of peels back one layer of paper and hands it over to someone else. It's kind of like that. It slowly but surely uncovers, you know, a different layer of the story and the mystery, and some answers are kind of discovered. It's not really like a quick story. It's not really fast-paced and action-packed. Yeah, some scenes are, but the overall story is very um, a slow burn. Um, that's what I would describe this book. It's a very slow-paced book. Not saying that it's a bad book. That's, I'm just stating the pace of it as, you know what I experienced of it anyway. So the book kind of concludes with you know, Jimmy uncovering the mystery of this cult, getting too close to it as his brother did. Yes, some people do die in this book. These vampires aren't joking around. This cult isn't having a laugh. They aren't afraid to kill people in gory ways, no matter who they are. They are very fixed in their ways. They are very somewhat religious in their beliefs, and they have all these mystical rituals that they have to complete within a certain time frame. Now, you may be asking to yourself, does Jimmy find his brother and Riley? I won't say because that's spoilers, but that is Jimmy's goal, as well as the goal of all these other characters within this book. Now, as I said, this book is a very slow-paced book. The characters in it were really good. I really enjoyed the characters. I don't really think that there wasn't any characters that I didn't like. I mean, I guess somewhat the leader of the cult, I didn't really feel much of a threat by him. There was more of a one of his like his right hand man that I felt more threatened with rather than the leader. Yeah, but that's kind of nitpicking. The story was a very good story. It was it's very rooted in reality. It's not really set in a fictional world, but I enjoyed the kind of slowness of the book, as well as the kind of moments that these characters had with each other. I will say that at the ends, when Jimmy and his police officers are confronting this cult, I did feel that it kind of dragged a little bit. Alan has this kind of I wouldn't say habit, but that's the because I've only read one book by him, but he has this tendency, I mean, I'll say that, to kind of stretch out his descriptions of scenes and description of things. I know it's a very good way of authors to like have their readers picture the scenes and the characters and what's happening in their minds. And I do love descriptions in my stories, and long-winded descriptions and long-winded explanations. But when it comes to a like a mystery thriller with supernatural horror elements to it, I wanted the story to kind of be a bit, you know, a bit quicker in pace, especially at the ends when we're at the conclusion to the story. I wanted it kind of to like be a bit more quicker. I suppose it was my kind of impatience to find out what happens at the end of this book, because I spent many days reading this, and I think I felt kind of connected with Jimmy and wanted to find out what the conclusion of the story was going to be, whether Quentin and Riley was going to be okay, what was going to happened with this rogue cult member, what was going on with this cult of vampires. And I also felt kind of a connection with Jimmy's mother, funny enough, because she's very caring. She doesn't know what to do, and in a sense, I wanted to kind of give her a hug and comfort her in the book because she was constantly worried about what was going on. So yeah, this was a very interesting book. What I'm going to rate it is I was going to rate it a middle of the road score, a 2.5 rating, but because I had this kind of a connection with these characters, as I mentioned throughout this whole video, I'm going to bump it up to a 3 stars out of 5. Yeah, this was not the best book, but it definitely wasn't the worst book, as this author wasn't a home run for me. This wasn't like a oh my god, this is a new favorite author for me. But this was an instance where I was intrigued by Alan and his writing style and his imagination, and even though it didn't blow my mind and rock my world, it did kind of put the author on my radar, and it made me also want to check out at least one more of his books to see if this author is for me or not, or whether I want to continue reading Alan's work. Now, would I recommend this to a horror fan? Because, as I said, I thought that this was horror, and in a sense it wasn't, in a sense it wasn't. I mean, you guys can make up your own mind. If there's anything that I've said in this video that intrigues you, yeah, well, I would definitely recommend it if you are into supernatural thriller mysteries, with a kind of a element, kind of a sprinkling of horror. I will say that if you are squeamish, kind of maybe be a bit cautious, because, as I said, these vampires aren't the traditional vampires that we all know. They are cannibals, and as a result of that, they do eat people. It's this... Alan does describe it in his book, not in graphic and gory ways, but it's enough to get the point across. So if you are squeamish about that, then be warned. So that's been my video on Alan's book. Let me know if you read it. Let me know what did you think about it. If you haven't read it, let me know if you are intrigued to read it and if you are going to pick it up. I also want to thank Alan at this point for reaching out to me and for sending me a free copy of his book. And yeah, it's always cool when authors write to you and they ask you to read their books, and yeah, it will always be something that gives me immense pleasure. So once again, thank you, Alan, for reaching out to me, and yeah, don't be a stranger. Reach out to me and contact me whenever you want. If you've got a new book coming out, then I will definitely at least check out and put it on my radar. That's been my video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and with all that out of the way, I'll see you on my next one.